So we know that the requirements, the policies, the plans for private businesses have been changing, evolving. We know that there have been the federal government has come up with a variety of programs and plans when it comes to vaccinations, requirements. The city of Chicago and the FOP are just the latest fighting back and forth about it. And joining us right now to understand a little bit more about the yin and the yang is Paul Siegert, managing partner at PCS Advisers. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How are you today?
Excellent. So now we have these OSHA requirements, the emergency temporary standard, and the requirement, I guess you would say, for vaccinations for so many different workplaces. How practical is that rollout?
Well, we're seeing that it may not survive legal challenge, and 6 of the 9 last times OSHA has done one of these, they haven't survived legal challenges. They don't have a great track record there. But it's not what we're seeing when we interact with employers around the country is that if you're at the lower end of the size range that's required to do this, it's a significant added administrative load. And they're already operating with a lean HR department that would take this on in most cases. And there's added liability for them if they don't handle it properly. So it's a tough needle to thread for those employers. Now, if you're a larger employer, like a large airline or something, and you end up getting rid of 2,000 or 3,000 employees, but you employ 67,000, that's a little easier to absorb.
Right. You may not notice the difference.
Yeah. Paul, I have a question about...
You have 5 or 10 people leave. That's tough.
I have a question about mandatory testing, Paul. How does that work? I mean, do you have to do it at home? Do you have to go to a doctor every couple of days?
And you're saying that because they're giving you the option, if you're not vaccinated,
that you do the testing twice a week.
Regular testing.
Exactly. How would that work? And are those results, I guess, vetted?
Yeah, and we were kind of expecting, we weren't sure exactly how that would get interpreted. Now they're saying it's not the employer's responsibility to provide those tests as a cost. So then who will pay for it? It will either be the individual, and that can be, $100, $200 a week that they would have to spend on testing, which is out of reach for a lot of people.
Do you think that that's the incentive, Paul, that they're trying to make a financial incentive that people would choose vaccination over coming out of their own pocket for testing?
Absolutely. And inconvenience.
That too, yeah.
You would have to mask up when your coworkers don't and do the social distancing and, just the sheer inconvenience of it. Interestingly, today, or within the last day or so, the administration has indicated that they're going to that insurers will be required to cover over-the-counter tests. So you could go down to your local drugstore and get it, and your insurance would pay for it.
Oh.
And I know a lot of times the consumer says, well, great, I'm not going to have to pay for it. But really, the insurers just bake that into your next increase in premium, so it'll hit employers and employees in the pocketbook.
You're going to pay. There is no such thing as a free lunch, Paul. We've all learned that, right? Be careful when somebody starts telling you you're not paying for it. You're paying for it, right? He's Paul Siegert, managing partner at PCS Advisers. And because of some of these, whether it be the mandate or the testing requirement, it's put employees and employers in the position of how truthful are you with your boss, and how's the boss supposed to tell that you're telling the truth?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of them are relying on attestation forms where you simply, on your honor, say that you are. And there was a really interesting study that came out, or survey, in the last week or two, where 28% of those surveyed said they would be willing to falsify that or lie, frankly, to keep their job. And it's amazing to think that we may be putting employees in a position where they have to decide, do I get vaccinated or lie about it so that I can continue to provide for my family, because they have a very strong, be it religious or medical reason why they don't want to take the vaccine. And some of those employers aren't accepting those.
And then you had a lot of restaurants locally too saying, and to their point, I don't want to be the police, so to speak, of checking
the vaccine police.
Exactly, to say, hey, are you vaccinated? And B, is this legit? So then it puts them in a weird situation too. So do you anticipate a lot of these lawsuits are going to be either thrown out, or a lot of people who have taken court action? I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition.
Well, what we're seeing is that there seems to be some precedent getting set that you, as an employer, you do need to make accommodations for medical exemptions and religious exemptions. So there seems to be headway in that direction in the courts. And then the government's ability to make these mandates is pretty consistently getting, there's stays getting put in place for those orders. Healthcare employers, healthcare workers in a whole state, that kind of thing, just 10 states, and then the whole country, that was put on stay here recently. It's widely accepted. There's good precedent that an employer can require. They can put in a vaccine mandate, and ironically, before the administration made their announcement about the OSHA approach, 85% of employers that we talked to said they were going to have a mandate of some sort of policy, and then many of them put that on hold in the period of confusion between when it was announced and then waiting for it to get actually defined, because they didn't want to go through investing in a policy, communicating it to their employees, starting to kind of police it, as you say, and then find out they hadn't built it in a way that complied with the new rules that came out. So I think it kind of slowed the process, ironically.
Really appreciate your insight into this. Thanks, Paul. Paul Siegert, a managing partner at PCS Advisors.